guys, welcome to the Thursday edition of the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. My name is Jerry Miller. It's good to be with you on what is starting to be a little hot weather spurt for Charlottesville and Central Virginia. A lot we're going to cover on today's program. We highlighted with friend of the program, Jim Hingley, the Gregory Swanson historical marker ceremony earlier this month. Jim Hingley, the Commonwealth's attorney and a champion of Gregory Swanson. Well, the ceremony is this afternoon. It starts at 2 p.m. at the Central Library, just Judah, a block away from us on East Market Street. The marker commemorates the Swanson versus University of Virginia court case that Swanson's NAACP legal team argued. This from Jim Hingley's Twitter account. In 1950, UVA refused to admit Gregory Swanson because he was African American. NAACP lawyers Spotswood Robertson, Oliver Hill, and Thurgood Marshall won a ruling in federal court that UVA violated Swanson's 14th Amendment rights and must allow him to enroll in the law school, Judah. In the fall of 1950, Gregory Swanson became the first African American student to attend UVA. Soon after, other public colleges in Virginia began admitting black students to graduate programs. This was one of many NAACP cases paving the way to Brown versus the Board of Education. 2 o'clock today, Judah, East Market Street on the library, the Gregory Swanson historical marker ceremony. That's big time. I'd say that's big time. First black student at the University of Virginia. Then other public colleges follow suit. Guy goes into the law school, living at Vinegar Hill, walking from Vinegar Hill, a historically black neighborhood that was destroyed and razed to grounds.
I've got his picture on screen.
You do. Nicely done, Judah Wickhauer. The photo courtesy of Jim Hingley.
Yep.
All right, Jim Hingley, your photo's on screen, my friend. We love when you watch and listen to the program. Commonwealth's attorney Hingley, we certainly appreciate you. Scott Aaronworth, good Thursday afternoon. So a lot we're going to cover on today's show. New restaurant, Judah and I will highlight. It's Chickadee. It's a breakfast and lunch spot. It's in the Glass Building, right next to Paradox Pastry. I'll highlight some of the items that appeal to me. A lot of these lunch items appeal to me. The Super Smash Burger, looks darn good. A double smash patty, American cheese, red onions, pickle, shreddus, special sauce, $10. The AJ Soprano fried bologna, ham, pepperoni, sharp provolone, garlic chips, lettuce, onion, herb, vinny, and banana peppers. What appeals to you with this one, J-Dubs? A lot of breakfast sandwiches as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see.
Priced well, too.
Come on.
$8 breakfast sandwich ain't bad.
No, not bad at all. I'm looking at the, let's see. I like the Troutlandish. That looks interesting.
What's in the Troutlandish?
That's got smoked trout, gnocchi, egg, herb, boursin, capers, chives, and microgreens.
Okay, smoked trout for breakfast on a breakfast Sammy. I'll go with the Marcy for my breakfast Sammy. Scrambled eggs, Munster cheese, sneaky cheese, with spicy pimento, caramelized onions, chives, and potato nest. A lot of creativity here, lunch and breakfast.
I'd take the Marcy too. Hold the caramelized onions, but yeah, that looks pretty delicious.
It's in the Glass Building. Trepidation or concern that they're not open for dinner? Vanessa Parkhill, hello. Queen of Earlysville, welcome to the program. It's breakfast and lunch. And that space...
Is that typical for that space?
They've had X Lounge in that space. Right?
How long ago was that?
It's been a while since X Lounge has been there. Let me ask you this question. We've talked about on this show here the most cursed locations in the city of Charlottesville, like places where they just struggle to do business.
Yeah.
We've highlighted our friends who seem to have turned the ship around. Tonic, right? Across from the police station on Market Street. The Tonic spot was previously what? Tin Whistle, Carlton's,
I don't even remember Carlton's.
Cafe Bocce, a lot of spots. And we've said that one has historically been cursed. This Glass House location, we've had X Lounge there. We've had the Bebedero there. We've had a private social club there. We've had a soul food restaurant there. This is just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
If you can think of the two most, and we want any business to do well.
Yeah.
We want every business to do well. But historically, the Tonic location and the Glass House where X Lounge used to be and the Bebedero used to be, historically very difficult places to conduct business.
The Glass House kind of surprises me because it's got that decent parking lot right across the street.
What's the decent parking lot? Glass House customers can't park there.
Ever?
You talking about where the custom leather place is?
I guess. I don't know where.
And the interior decorating places?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, the tough part about the Glass House is it downtown or is it Ix? Glass House is uniquely, there's this district that's in between the downtown mall and Ix Park that's been branded the Glass House District. I mean, did you know that?
I didn't know that that's what it was branded.
Yeah.
You mean everything down there, like even the kind of buildings off to the side of Friendship Court?
Kind of by where Gleason, where the Gleason is, and the shops that are there by the Gleason. I mean, that little corridor of commerce, it's an island.
Yeah.
Is it Ix or is it downtown? Is it downtown or is it Ix? It's in purgatory there.
Yeah, it's like it's separated by the train tracks and then blocked on the other side by
Monticello.
By Friendship Court.
Yeah, or Friendship Court. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Friendship Court's proximity has anything to do with the problems it has.
For X Lounge, I think that was the case.
Because I used to park over by the over under the bridge by the pavilion, and so every once in a while I'd come walking down the mall after work, and then I'd head up that street that the Glass House is on, and then I'd take and then I'd walk by Friendship Court to go back towards the I don't know if people have had problems in the past, but it's always seemed like a pretty normal little neighborhood.
It's going to be some significant developments with Friendship Court as it evolves into a mixed-use neighborhood with new housing stock. It's the Warehouse District. It was not the Glass House District. It's called the Warehouse District. And the Warehouse
because it used to have some like food warehouses and stuff over there, didn't it?
You're thinking that's more off Grave Street in Belmont.
No, there was a spot like if you're heading from the downtown mall towards the Glass House and then you take a right.
Oh, Cavalier Produce?
Yeah.
Cavalier Produce.
That's what I'm thinking of in terms of warehousing.
The Warehouse District, this little corridor of commerce that's kind of in between the downtown mall and Ix, that's very much searching for an identity. And frankly, the individual that probably has to lead the charge with the identity creation is Oliver Kuttner, scion of Ludwig Kuttner. Oliver, an owner of commercial in that Warehouse District corridor, probably the most under his belt. So the news, Scott, thank you for passing this along to me. Chickadee now open in the Glass Building for breakfast and lunch. You surprised the no dinner, or do you just chalk this up to what the difficulty every restaurant's encountering right now in Charlottesville and Central Virginia? Why open for additional shifts when you don't have the labor to accommodate said shifts? Yeah,
that could be it. Maybe they're testing the water and they just want to see how things go with this, and if things go well and they can draw in more employees, then they'll expand their hours. I gotta say that the lunch sandwich, one of these lunch sandwiches, really has my attention.
Which one?
And I gotta play this too. It's the drum fill. The sandwich. The sandwich is called the drum fill from In the Air Tonight.
Oh, so you're going to do a little drama.
If it'll play.
Judah making moves, some sound effects here.
Talking about iconic drum parts, there's no way to leave out Phil.
Yeah, let's kill that.
I wanted to actually
We'll
find.
kill that. Let's kill that. Let's kill that.
I was hoping to play that drum fill.
The drum fill from In the Air Tonight, Turkey.
Boom, 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 boom,
Oh,
boom.
we know.
Yeah.
I think probably the most
I'd get that sandwich.
famous drum fill.
Yeah.
Would
no
you not
doubt.
say?
No doubt. I'd get that sandwich just for the name.
The drum fill from The Air Tonight is $11. Turkey, herb Burson, Munster, salt and pepper, apple slaw, microgreens, and garlic aioli. Do you know what Burson is?
It's kind of like French cheese.
It's like French cheese.
It's like a French cheese spread. Let me
Burson
see.
is French cheese spread. I learn something from you every day, my friend.
Let's see.
It's a French cheese spread is Burson.
Derived from a traditional party dish, fromage frais.
Oh.
Boursin cheese combines savory herbs and rich flavors with creamy yet crumbly Gournay cheese.
Pinkies up when drinking your lattes and your coffee. Pinkies up, Judah Wickower. Pinkies up. And speaking of food, we both found this intriguing. The wing chain, the chain of wings eateries, it's called Wingstop. Wingstop is essentially a smaller version of Buffalo Wild Wings, right?
Okay.
So it's a chain that specializes in selling wings. It's named Wingstop. Maybe one of the first signs of peaked inflation from Wingstop. Chicken wings have come down in price since soaring last year. Wingstop's chief executive, Michael Skipworth, told CNBC's Jim Cramer yesterday that the price of wings has dropped to $1.63 a pound. Last year, it was $3.22 a pound.
Wow.
So we're talking, it 2x'd last year. It went from 322 to 163. Maybe one of the first signs of deflation or peaked inflation we have seen in a macro KPI. I don't know how accurate wing price is. I mean, wing is certainly a commodity. Wings are a commodity.
I mean, could it just be the result of, I don't know, some other metric? It could be that there was, they had a problem getting chickens to the factory or something.
Yeah, I mean,
last
all this
year.
is the collateral damage of COVID.
Yeah,
And it's all
a lot
tied
of it.
to each other. And good God, fuel, gas this week just hit all-time high. Gas on average in California is over $6 a gallon right now.
That's insane.
I mean, and that affects every supply chain as fuel.
Yeah.
But wings, I mean, you guys remember last year when you would go to a restaurant and get chicken wings and you were dropping $20 plus for chicken wings. Now Wingstop, $3.22 a pound last year, the cost of wings, now down to $1.63 for a pound of wings. I want to ask you a legitimate question. Of any inflationary or deflationary metric that you can think of in 2022, anything that we can leverage over the course of a conversation and say, maybe inflation is peaking, what data points come to mind? A few weeks ago,
What data points come to mind to prove that it's peaking?
that prove it's peaking or going in a positive direction. Obviously, we talked a couple weeks ago that core inflation appears to be peaking, but this is the first one with a commodity that is food and wings where the price is going down.
Yeah, but the price went down by like half. I don't know that that's an indicator of inflation or deflation.
I would say that is.
I think that's
Pricing is directly associated with inflation.
but that just seems far too
Dramatic a cut?
yeah. I don't think the doubling of it last year was due to inflation, or at
Kevin
least
Yancey
not
says there were
solely.
massive avian flu slaughters last year that drove up the price of chicken wings. That was definitely part of it. Definitely part of it. Kevin Yancey, the king of Waynesboro.
Yeah, that would make sense if you had to destroy a lot of your stock.
Yeah. I mean, I think of a data point that you could say, this is positive. This is positive that maybe inflation is peaking. or getting
I
close
mean,
to
is that
peaking.
like looking for a needle in a haystack?
I mean, at this point, aren't we? Good Lord, it's tough. Yesterday was carnage on Wall Street.
It was a bloodbath.
It was a freaking bloodbath yesterday. At this point, aren't we looking for a needle in a haystack? That we can optimists? I mean, you're the bear. I'm the bull here.
I don't like to be the bear.
You are the bear.
I'm just the bear because I look at things rationally.
Well, because you're bearish by nature. You're bearish by nature. I've known you for a decade. You have some bearish tendencies.
Okay.
You don't think that's fair?
I'm sure it's fair.
You're very much a contrarian.
That's not necessarily being bearish, though.
Oftentimes it is.
You know what I like? I like people to look at both sides or multiple sides of something. And when
Never said you didn't.
And when I hear people making blanket statements about anything,
your antennas perk up.
I start looking for the other side of it because I know there's always another story.
I know, and I respect that, and that's why we work well together. Bluegrass Grill did not have dinner, Scott. Scott Airworth is asking, didn't Bluegrass Grill have dinner? Bluegrass Grill did not have dinner.
I don't even know if they had lunch.
Did not have dinner.
I mean, they had,
They had lunch.
They were open during lunchtime, but most of what they served was, pancakes and waffles and eggs and
Brunch items.
Yeah.
Yeah, brunch items. Then they had a good little run. At Devil's Backbone in Pop-Up for.
They had a delicious
Bluegrass
brunch.
had it going on.
Oh man.
I mean, I feel for.
Anytime my dad was sick or doing
wanted to
something
go there?
else. No. Anytime he was sick or not at church for whatever reason,
He was there?
my mom and I would go there.
Oh.
My dad hates waiting.
He hates waiting?
He hates waiting.
Big Jim Wickhauer
for
does not like waiting?
anything.
Okay. Well, that's
So-
not the spot you want to go then.
That's why my mom and I went there when my dad wasn't at church.
So you and Ma Dukes would check it out because the food was that good.
Oh, we loved going there,
I
but
love
my
it.
dad would never want to. So, so when he wasn't around, we'd go get our brunch on there.
Is there any more empathetic of an owner-operator? Are you more empathetic to any owner-operator out there than the owner-operator right now in food and beverage? I mean, food and beverage, maybe you make an argument for the owner-operator of a music venue. But food and beverage, no labor, cost of goods out of control, fuel impacting everything, menu prices being updated on the daily, like literally having to be changed on the daily. Permanent menus, no way, Jose. That's not the case anymore. I mean,
Balancing food ordering with employees, with all the other stuff, and trying to figure out. I mean, they poured their hearts and souls into their work over the last 2 years, and we know that anybody still in the business is in it for love and not for greed.
I mean, it cannot be.
That deserves massive props.
It cannot be dollars and cents you're in it. I mean, if you're running it on a 7, 8, 9% profit margin, people roll out the red carpet for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of a more challenging commodity-influenced beverage or business than food and beverage right now.
Yeah.
I mean, good night. And a positive from this would be the graduation festivities that start tonight, running through Sunday. We've identified, and we're in agreement on this, that the most important weekend or influential weekend for Charlottesville is graduation weekend, Thursday evening through Sunday. Now, here's what I want to ask you about. There's a difference between influential and important.
Okay.
Would you agree that the most influential weekend for Charlottesville City is graduation weekend? Because I would argue importance is more a reflection of historical significance, where influential is more a reflection of economic stimulus. So the most influential weekend for Charlottesville, economic stimulus, graduation weekend.
I mean, as we've been talking about important weekend, I would have thought we were talking about economics and how much.
You would have thought we were talking economic stimulus?
Yeah, how many, graduation weekend, you've got entire families coming into town and spending money. So to me, that's an economic question, whereas importance, and I think it's just a matter of translation. For me, when you say importance, I think of like, getting the word out about Charlottesville. In terms of, making Charlottesville a destination spot in the future.
Well, what's the most historically significant weekend in Charlottesville's history?
Historically, you've got to give me an explanation of what you mean by that.
Historically significant weekend is associated with turn of events. Or
I would say
infamy, or
I think we all know what the most important one infamously is
would
recently.
Be 8/12. Infamy would be August 12th.
Yeah.
But historically significant, positive, what would that be? What is Charlottesville viewers and listeners? Help us out with this. Charlottesville's most important, historically significant weekend that's not infamous.
It's kind of sad, but aside from August 12th and the occasional write-up in various magazines about being the top 10 for X, Y, and or Z, how often has Charlottesville really been in national news?
Jefferson's home was here.
But that's not in the news.
That was in the national news.
When?
It was freaking President of the United States.
Jefferson builds home. News at 11.
Jefferson home was here. I would say that's significant. Most historically significant weekend in Charlottesville history, unfortunately, probably is August 12th.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. For all the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Most influential weekend in Charlottesville is graduation weekend for the influence it has on the economy locally. Scott Aaronworth says, I did not phrase it properly, but I wasn't saying they did not have dinner and it still kicked it. Neil Williamson shares a link. Ooh, I love when Neil shares links. He says, Jack Jewett's Ride, 1781. On the night of June 3rd to June 4th morning in 1781, Jack Jewett rode about 40 miles from Louisa County to Charlottesville to warn state officials of the approaching British Army. Mm-hmm. The British had been threatening Richmond and central Virginia since the spring, and the General Assembly had fled to Charlottesville. On June 3rd, British cavalry under Lieutenant Colonel Banastre Tarleton assembled in Louisa County to attack Charlottesville. Jewett noticed them, guessed their intentions, and raced ahead to warn Governor Thomas Jefferson, whose term had just ended, and other members of the state government. The assembly escaped to Stanton, while Jefferson retreated to Monticello first, and then eventually his second home, Poplar Forest, leaving Virginia without an elected governor for a few days. The General Assembly honored Jewett's actions, and he later moved to Kentucky, where he served in the state's government. His ride, meanwhile, achieved legendary status over the years, at least in Virginia.
Yeah, and sadly overshadowed by Paul Revere.
Jewett's Ride overshadowed by Paul Revere. If there's no Paul Revere, Jewett would be the Paul Revere of today.
No doubt.
No doubt. No doubt. Paul Revere's ride, you could make an argument, much more arduous.
I mean, haven't been along the trails of their rides.
Well, do you know the point A to point B of Paul Revere's ride?
Not really.
Let's look that up.
I would have learned about that quite a few decades ago.
Paul Revere's ride, point A to point B. Jack Jewett went in Louisa to Charlottesville. Very, very significant ride.
Yeah.
A very significant ride. Paul Revere's ride was, I'm going to Wikipedia on this. Can you find Paul Revere's ride?
Let's see.
I mean, he wrote his ride through some significant jurisdictional footprints. Paul Revere. Jack Jewett is still pretty epic. Did they change the name of the school away from Jack Jewett? Was that one of the schools that was changed, had its name changed as well, Neil? I mean, all the schools' names are getting changed. Was Jewett's name, Jack Jewett's school name changed?
Revere only went 12.5 miles.
He did?
Yeah.
I would have thought he went more. Jack Jewett went Louisa County to Charlottesville. Louisa County to Charlottesville would strike me as longer than 12.5 miles. Would it not, to you?
Say it again, Louisa to Charlottesville?
Louisa County to Charlottesville for Jack Jewett's ride. That would strike me as longer than 12.5 miles. You're looking that up?
Let's see. Jack Jewett's ride was 40 miles.
Jack Jewett went a 40 spot.
40 mile, hence the 40 mile.
40 mile IPA at 3-notch.
Yeah.
3-notch, there you go. Very nicely done.
40 mile ride, and Revere's total distance
So good,
was
Judah.
12.5 miles.
So
Pitiful.
we're basically, we're marginalizing old J squared.
Yeah.
Paul Revere did how many miles?
12.5.
The 40 mile beer, here's the copy, the branding copy for 3-Notch Brewing Company's 40 mile, one of their flagship beers. The 40 mile is our flagship IPA and is named after the number of miles Jack Jewett raced toward Thomas Jefferson and his state legislators that Cornwallis had ordered their capture. Jack Jewett's ride is legendary in Virginia and put 3-Notch Road on the map as a central story in the fight for our country's independence. Jack left his mark on history. How will you leave your mark? 3-Notch asks you.
With an axe.
With 3 marks on them. Why is J squared marginalized compared to Paulie Revere? J squared, you're telling me, went 3x the mileage of Paulie Revere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, more than.
3x. And and Jack Jewett just happens to be on a horse, sees some redcoats chitter chatting with some muskets with bayonets on them, and he said, "Oh Jeebus, I need to go tell Thomas. I need to go tell Thomas now that the redcoats are coming. The redcoats are coming." That's what Jack did.
Yeah.
On now 3-Notch Road, which is the inspiration behind my favorite brewery.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
I might be going as Jack Jewett for Halloween. What would I wear if I went as Jack Jewett for Halloween?
Well, you'd need a tricorn cap, and you'd probably want one of those fake horse costumes that makes it look like you've got the horse in the front and back.
I don't think the horse...
With the little fake legs flapping along the side.
I don't think the horse is part of the costume.
Well, how would you be Jack Jewett without a horse to ride?
The horse is not essential to the Jack Jewett costume. You think
I think horse is? How do you make a 40-mile ride without a horse?
You can't... If you went as Paul Revere for Halloween, you wouldn't have to have a horse with you.
Nobody's going to know who you are. Hey, nice tricorn cap. Are you Jack Sparrow?
Jack Sparrow, the pirate from the Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah. Who's going to know that you're
Johnny Depp?
Who's going to know that you're
People
Jack
would know
Jewett?
Captain Jack Sparrow over Jack Jewett.
100%. You know this to be true.
You know Captain Jack Sparrow. You do not know Jack Jewett. You just made a very compelling argument that Jack Jewett isn't even the most recognizable horseback light lantern carrying megahorn. I mean, that's essentially what these guys were, right? They were the bullhorn before the bullhorn. The walkie-talkie before the walkie-talkie.
They were the
text message before the text message.
They were the early air raid sirens.
Yeah. They were the carrier pigeon before the carrier pigeon. Actually, there was probably carrier pigeons then. Was there not carrier pigeons?
Like they were going to send a carrier pigeon to
Well, because you're saying the carrier pigeon hadn't been trained to go from Louisa to Charlottesville to Warren, Thomas Jefferson.
But are you really going to rely on a carrier pigeon to like save the Virginia legislature?
They probably relied on carrier pigeons for other crazier stuff.
For sending messages, but not like, hey, the British are coming to like capture and
Thomas
kill you
out.
all. Yeah.
Get Thomas out. Comments are coming in fast and furious. MJR Cat, thank you, Neil Williamson, for sharing this link to Jack Jewett's ride. It's gotten the conversation sparkling over here on the side of the I Love CVille Network. MJR Cat, she's a huge Dave Warwick fan and 3-Notch fan. Us too, MJR Cat. 40-mile IPA, 3-Notch, based on Jack Jewett. You called that as well.
I think there may be a few more that are based on, well, I'm sure most of them are based on local legends.
Yeah, they had to rebrand the Ghost. The Ghost had some Confederacy ties, I believe. Some ties to the Confederacy.
I mean, it's all just history.
A small group of very loud people made a ruckus. And
of course
attempted the cancel culture strategies and techniques that are spelling the doom of society in 2022.
So basically a bunch of Karens.
You said that. I did not say that. Definitely did not say. D.O.D., Danny O'Day, Revere's ride was much shorter, only more famous due to the poem written about him by Longfellow. Jack Jewett should be getting all the legacy, all the folklore, all the tales and tribulations on the I Love CVille show, and all the gaggle of gals that come with that legacy. Not Paul Revere.
Right.
Kevin Yancey, western edge of Louisa is Zion's crossroads. O'Day says the poem is the only reason. Damn Longfellow and the New England bias. Danny O'Day. And Kevin Yancey said those are called knickers, Judah. Knickers.
Wait, what?
Knickers, the costume we would be wearing if we were Jack Jewett. Knickers. Travis Hackenworth is watching in Danville. I love you, Travis Hackenworth. I've never met you in person, but I feel like I know you. Little acknowledged fact on Paul Revere's ride is he wasn't the only rider. Wentworth Cheswell, an African American, was the second rider and the first African American elected to public office in the United States. Damn, that's a great comment right there. Did you know that?
No, I'm going to have to take a look at that.
Travis, I'm responding to your comment right here. Travis, great comment, dude. Exclamation point. Let's dub him the King of Danville.
That's pretty awesome.
Lee Vogler will not like that the King of Danville is going to Travis Hackworth. But Travis Hackworth, you just earned the moniker King of Danville, Travis Hackworth. I'm going to read that comment again. Then Carol Thorpe, the Queen of Jack Jewett is watching. Carol Thorpe.
Nice.
I'll get to Carol's comments in a matter of moments. But Travis's comments need to be read again. This is from Travis Hackworth, who's watching in the River District of Danville. He says, little acknowledged fact on Paul Revere's ride is he wasn't the only rider on the ride. Wentworth Cheswell, an African American, was the second rider and the first African American elected to public office in the United States. That was excellent, Travis. Carol Thorpe, we've dubbed her the Queen of Jack Jewett on this show. She says, and now you know why I proudly wanted the moniker Queen of Jack Jewett, Judah. Let's hope the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors doesn't eventually try to erase his name from my magisterial district as the school district did for the middle school. I knew they did that to the school. I knew it. They're cutting out the name. Why was Jack Jewett's name cut out from the school? It's got to be associated with with at one time owning slaves, right? Do we know for a fact? Can you figure that out? Can you do a quick Google? Why was Jack Jewett's name taken off the school? It's got to be that, right? Can you give us that, Judah? Anybody, Carol, can you give us some knowledge on that? Why was J Squared taken off the school? Vanessa Parkhill, the Queen of Earlysville's got some comments. Both of my kids went to Jewett Middle School. Happy to say I kept some of their Jack Jewett Jaguars gear. I believe the school is now called Journey Middle School. I believe the middle school name was changed despite the input from the community.
Somebody liked 80s music a little too much.
Yes, Jewett's name has been changed from the school. Was it because he owned slaves? Yes, Carol Thorpe confirms he owned slaves. Carol Thorpe confirmed that's why. Well, if they take it off, Carol, if they took it off...
That's ridiculous.
I love when Carol Thorpe watches the show. She keeps us on our toes and makes the program better. So I would think your thinking is, Carol, that if they took it off the middle school, that they're going to soon take it off the magisterial district. Very similar to the health district rebranding, when it went from the Thomas Jefferson Health District during the pandemic to the Blue Ridge Health District during the pandemic. I sat there and I scratched my head. Did anyone else scratch their head? We're in the midst of a freaking pandemic, and you're allocating human capital, financial resources, and time to rebranding the district from the Thomas Jefferson Health District to the Blue Ridge Health District because of PR concerns.
Yeah, absurd.
Absurd. A microcosm, that rebranding during a pandemic of what is so wrong with our country today in this cancel culture mentality. Yeah. You rebrand because of PR as opposed to focusing on a pandemic.
As opposed to educating people.
Yeah, as opposed to the education PR. Explain that to me.
It's,
Somebody explain that to me. Makes no sense.
It's basically whitewashing.
Oh, Bill McChenzie, welcome to the program. We love when you watch the show. He says, North America passenger pigeons, now extinct, were larger than the pigeons we have these days. They helped contribute to the wing shortage. And Curtis Shaver,
to the
chef of Peloton
to
Station.
The what shortage?
To the wing shortage. The wing. The carrier, the pigeons were pooping. And the chickens were eating poop.
Are you making that up?
No, I'm telling you, that's what he's saying. Is that what you're saying, Bill McChenzie? I mean, Yancey, King of Waynesboro, is saying there was a massive avian flu, millions of birds slaughtered and incinerated, and that's why we had a wing shortage. Curtis Shaver says, and he agrees with you, Judah, that I would undoubtedly need a horse as part of my Jack Jewett costume. That my costume could not just be knickers and what did you call it? The tricorn
hat.
Tricorn hat. If you had a tricorn hat, knickers, and a lantern, you're saying that's not enough for people to identify you as Jack Jewett?
I think it probably depends on the people.
People would automatically assume you're Paul Revere. If you had a tricorn hat.
If you had the
lantern. Is it tricorn? Is that the right term?
I mean, I don't know that that's the hat they were wearing.
Tricorn? Is that tricorners? Short for corners? Tricorn?
No, it's. I think it's Tricorne. I don't know what the hell it means, but...
Curtis, if I had a lantern, some knickers, and a tricorn hat, and I was walking around Charlottesville at Halloween, you're telling me people would not recognize me as Jack Jewett? They would jump immediately to Paul Revere?
Or maybe even Thomas Jefferson. Looking for something he lost around UVA. Where did I put that?
I don't yeah, maybe. Thomas Jefferson. Oh, God. Carol Thorpe says, Curtis is right. You got to have the horse.
Yep.
You got to have the horse. And she says, if and when the woke crowd pressures the Board of Supervisors, the Jack Jewett Magisterial District will be
gone
rebranded.
forever.
It will be rebranded. Yeah, I agree with her.
Yeah, it's probably only a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time. Three other topics. that I want to get to today, guys. Gas prices are at an all-time high. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on here?
I mean,
we're at $4.50 a gallon around these parts. California's over 6 B's a gallon, 6 bones a gallon,
well,
6 smacks a gallon, $6 a gallon.
Who's one of our major oil suppliers? Russia.
No, I understand why that's the case. But it's 2022, and we're at the mercy of the Ruskies.
You know, we've got lots of oil underneath us. We just need to tap into it.
You're talking about domestic oil production.
Yeah, I am.
Are you talking about domestic oil production?
Yeah.
Are you talking about domestic pipelines?
I'm not talking specifics.
Them fighting words around these parts.
I'm just saying.
Fighting words around these parts. At one time, domestic oil production and domestic pipelines was synonymous with Bodo's Bagels needs competition.
What do you mean? How is that? What do you mean it was synonymous?
It was blasphemy.
Oh, okay.
Domestic oil production and a Virginia pipeline
I'm not
was
talking
synonymous.
When I said under our feet,
Bodo's competition.
I meant under our feet in America, not specifically Virginia.
I know.
And,
I'm just giving you
and
a
I
heads
know
up.
that,
I know what
and
you
I,
meant.
I know that the Virginia pipeline and pipelines anywhere in America are a tense and touchy subject. But the fact of the matter is, we've got oil, and we're not using it.
I know. We have oil. Bill McChenzy's got some great Jack Jewett comments. Jewett's ride took him through the woods at night, and he was scared for life. He was scarred for life by branches and brambles that hit him in the face while riding to Monticello in the dark.
Damn.
Jack Jewett.
When are we going to get to see this movie? It
Jack
sounds
Jewett
pretty
trumps
epic.
Paul Revere.
Yeah.
Jack Jewett in a 12-round knockout, drag-out heavyweight fight would crush Paul Revere. He would. He would crush Paul. Right?
I mean, I don't know if horse riding equates to
Paul Revere ran on a horse.
What?
Paul did the same thing.
But did he ride through a forest?
Oh, you're saying horse riding in the dark with a lantern is not synonymous with fisticuffs.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that. And Curtis said, Judah's right. You would just look like a colonialist if you didn't have the horse and the tricorn hat. And Kevin Yancey says, pipeline running through Virginia are not oil, they are natural gas. For you, Judah.
That's for you. You're the one talking about pipelines.
Right,
I didn't say that we should have a pipeline in Virginia.
It's for both of us. I'm sorry. Thank you, Kevin Yancey. Thank you.
I was just pointing out that America has a lot of oil that we don't tap into.
Our dependence on Russia has been magnified exponentially over the last 60 days.
Well, yeah.
I mean, America can't even get Brittany Griner. Are you following the Brittany Griner saga? The best women's basketball player on the planet is in jail in Russia because she got caught with vape cartridge oil in her suitcase in an airport in Russia at the start of the Russia-Ukrainian war.
Wow.
Now Russia is leveraging or utilizing Brittany Griner, the best female basketball player on the planet, to flex their muscles.
To try to get rid of the what do you call it?
She's being used as a political pawn.
They're trying to use her to get rid of the sanctions.
They're trying to use her to basically puff their chests out and peacock for the world that, hey, we're still a superpower and we're going to do whatever the hell we want with this American.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that they want the sanctions cut.
We have to stop our reliance on this country immediately. And we have to domesticate as much production, localize stateside, as much production as humanly possible.
Yeah, it would be nice.
I mean, good God, China is on a freaking quarantine because of a pandemic that's outbreaking again.
And I just read that they've got, what was it? They've got 35% of the world's something or other locked up.
That's what I'm saying. This pandemic, if anything, has taught us to domesticate and to localize as much production possible of any goods, any commodity.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, but it feels like we've been de-escalating all of that stuff across. I mean, you know, farmers are going out of business, and we're not going for the oil that's available to us. It feels like we've become somewhat complacent and happily been consuming what other countries have been piping or growing or
without fear of ramifications.
Yeah.
Neil Williamson, president of the Free Enterprise Forum. We love you, Neil. How close was Jack Jewett's escape? Jack Jewett is resonating with people today. He says, how close was Jack Jewett's escape? Henry Randall, in his book, The Life of Thomas Jefferson, reported that while Jefferson was on the lawn of Monticello, Captain of Dragoons McClellan was actually in the house.
Wow.
So Thomas barely got out.
So like maybe a couple football fields away?
Yeah.
Wow.
Significant.
Like, where is he? It's pretty amazing.
Danny O'Day and Kevin Yancey for us. Russian oil represents less than 3% of our oil consumption.
Is most of it from OPEC?
They barely affect our oil. They pale in comparison to Saudi and even Canada.
Really?
It's from Yancey and Danny O'Day. My statement was more about commodities and products in general. I mean, oil, fertilizer, grains. Why we are reliant on countries led by psychopathic, warmongering dictators that are unmentally stable is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And look at how much is produced from China. The country is on freaking lockdown, China, because of the pandemic. How much do we get from China, and how is that impacting supply chains across so many spaces of business?
China's wheat crop is 3 times larger than ours.
I mean, you're talking about the world's second largest economy.
Yeah, and I think they just killed a lot of. Maybe that was something older, but I feel like there was something with China slaughtering a lot of pigs due to swine flu, but that may have been in the past.
Travis Hackworth in Danville. Paul Revere also got captured. His friends Dawes and Prescott with him on the ride were captured as well. Ran right into a British ambush by 2 soldiers. After being taken at gunpoint by the British to a nearby field, Prescott escaped by riding into the woods. Revere tried to escape by riding in the opposite direction, which allowed Dawes to also escape while the redcoats chase Revere. The Paul Revere lesson is very good today. Jack Jewett lesson as well. Vanessa Parkhill says this, a tongue-in-cheek joke, be very careful, Jerry. With all that talk of bringing manufacturing, etc., back to our shores, some may think you might sound too like-minded with 45. Vanessa Parkhill. If the pandemic has taught us a lot. The pandemic has obviously prioritized working through an ISP, an internet service provider. The pandemic has obviously taught us how misinformation can spread quickly on social media. And the pandemic has taught us that having our economy and our supply chains linked and associated with supply chains and economies for countries where we don't have much influence over or much genuine knowledge about is concerning and should be changed. I mean, do we really know anything coming out of the Russian government or the Chinese government to be actually true or false? We take them at their word for what they're reporting, but we can't actually know if it's true or false or not. The most, last topic, the Forbes magazine released the highest paid athletes for 2022. Lionel Messi, the soccer player, is #1 in the world again. This man makes $130 million a year, $75 million on the pitch playing soccer, and $55 million doing endorsements. I'll rattle off the top 10. Lionel Messi, $130 million a year. Lebron James, $121.2 million a year. Cristiano Ronaldo, $115 million a year. Neymar, $95 million. 3 of the top 4 are soccer players. LeBron James is in the 2 slot. 5 is Steph Curry. 6 is Kevin Durant. This one is amazing. Roger Federer is 7. Listen to this. The tennis great, Roger Federer, made $90.7 million in 2021.
That's insane.
Of that $90.7 million, only $700,000 was from tennis earnings.
Yeah.
The remaining $90 million was from endorsements. That's insane. $700K from tennis purses, $90 million from endorsements for Roger Federer. Canelo Alvarez, the boxer, is 8. Tom Brady, 9. And Giannis, the Greek freak, the Milwaukee basketball player, rounds out the top 10. Unbelievable. There is no football player in the top 10. No NFL football player in the top 10. In fact, the football player that makes the most money is Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford makes $72 million a year. Most of that from football earnings. No baseball player in the top 16. Not a single baseball player in the top 16. The top 16 are dominated by NBA players and soccer players. 1 boxer in the top 16, Canelo Alvarez at 8. Stafford, the only football player, no, there's 2 football players. Aaron Rodgers is right behind him. And the only golfer is Tiger Woods. Today was a good show. I learned a lot from you guys.
No doubt.
Carol Thorpe says, to Vanessa's point, self-reliance is always a good thing. Amen. Carol Thorpe and Vanessa Parkhill. Amen. Self-reliance is a great thing. Anything you want to close with, Judah?
Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you, Neil, for sharing about Jack Jewett and who was it that mentioned Wentworth Cheswell? That's very interesting as well. And he seems like a really...
Is that Travis? I think that was Travis.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it was Travis.
Really interesting guy.
No, Travis mentioned the Paul Revere writers. It's got to be Bill McKenzie who mentioned those. Jack Jewett. We need to do a show on Jack Jewett. Like one whole entire show on Jack Jewett. That would be compelling content right there. All right, it's the Thursday edition of the I Love CVille Show. Judah Whitcower and Jerry Miller were presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary, best dispensary in Charlottesville. Skooma Boutique Dispensary with a location on the downtown mall and off Ellwood Avenue with more locations to come. Win free coffee for a year courtesy of Greenberry's Coffee through the link enter.greenberries.com. Enter.greenberries.com. Judah, Jerry, I Love CVille Show. We'll see you tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. for Real Talk with Keith Smith, Tony O'Brien, and Chris Fairchild on set. Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. Real Talk with Keith Smith. You guys have a good one. Take care.